Hello, everyone. Welcome to Antarctica, the frozen continent surrounding the South Pole. This massive landmass, 40% larger than Europe, is entirely covered in ice. Here, seals, whales, penguins, and, of course, scientists conducting research call this extreme environment home. However, beneath Antarctica's icy depths lies a dark secret hidden under the ice. Sitting atop this colossal ice sheet is the Thwaites Glacier, a 120-kilometer-wide formation known as the Doomsday Glacier. If this glacier melts completely, it could trigger a catastrophic rise in global sea levels. The truly alarming part, Thwaites is melting at an alarming rate, releasing 50 billion tons of ice into the ocean every year. So far, 23% of global sea level rise has been attributed to this glacier alone. Some scientists predict that Thwaites could collapse not over centuries, but within mere decades, or even sooner. What if the Thwaites Glacier suddenly melted? Yes, the Doomsday Glacier disappears within seconds, and just like that, it's gone. Water rushes into the Southern Ocean, then spreads to the Indian, Atlantic, and Pacific Oceans. As a result, global sea levels rise by 60 centimeters, 2 feet. Streets in San Francisco are submerged, while Miami and New Orleans disappear beneath the waves. How did this happen? Why did the glacier collapse so suddenly? The answer lies beneath the ice, where a hidden process is at work. Under the Thwaites Glacier, a fast-moving river flows, fueled by meltwater from the glacier and geothermal heat from the Earth's interior. This hidden river weakens the ice from below, accelerating the melting process. The collapse starts slowly, but triggers a chain reaction, breaking apart massive ice chunks and leading to an unstoppable meltdown. Yet, beneath the Antarctic ice, another secret world lies hidden. Before we explore this mysterious underground world, let's first understand why Antarctica is so crucial to our planet. Antarctica is home to an enormous ice sheet with an average thickness of over 2 kilometers, covering an area of 14 million square kilometers, 1.5 times the size of the United States. This vast ice mass contains a staggering 25 million cubic kilometers of ice, holding 90% of the world's ice and 60% of its fresh water supply. Unlike the Arctic, where ice floats on water, Antarctica's ice sits atop solid ground. However, because 98% of this land is buried beneath ice, we never actually see it. Hidden under the ice is even an oceanic basin covering 1.5 million square kilometers. If all this ice were to melt, global sea levels would rise by an astonishing 70 meters, 230 feet. Soon, we'll see how this massive meltdown could reshape the world. But first, let's uncover what secrets lie hidden beneath the ice, because they may be just as terrifying as the melting itself. For thousands, even millions of years, ancient microbes and viruses trapped beneath the ice could be released. This poses a risk of unknown diseases spreading across the world. Our modern immune systems might have no defense against these ancient pathogens, as we've never encountered them before. As a result, infections could spread rapidly, and we may need advanced medical treatments to control them. In some cases, high doses of antibiotics or carefully administered medications may be required to combat long-term illnesses. Now, let's take a look at the strange creatures that await us beneath this frozen landscape. As we explore this undiscovered region, let's first descend to the ocean floor. Here, a type of sea creature known as the anemone resides. These small organisms are found attached beneath the ice. But take a closer look, because these anemones aren't the typical ones you might recognize. They belong to a new species with unique features. Normally, sea anemones remain attached to a single point, much like plants. However, Antarctic anemones move freely through the water. Scientists are still trying to figure out where these anemones are trying to go. Now, in such a cold and dark environment where almost nothing can grow, What do these creatures feed on? It's likely that they rely on small plankton particles and waste carried by ocean currents. But there's something even stranger and a bit gross that they feed on. The ocean version of decaying food trapped beneath the ice. These creatures feast on the decaying skeletons, bodies, and ancient bacteria of organisms that lived when the Earth was warmer millions of years ago. Continuing with our disaster scenario, let's move forward. Several massive glaciers are on the verge of breaking apart. As glaciers neighboring Thwaites Glacier break off and melt, more water flows into the oceans. Global sea levels rise by an additional 2.5 meters. Cities along the east coast of the United States are submerged. Boston, New York, and Miami. Millions of people are affected. While cities are sinking underwater, something strange happens along the coast of Antarctica. The sea level near the glacier drops, while it rises in more distant areas. How is this possible? Remember, the Antarctic ice sheet is incredibly massive, weighing a total of 24 billion megatons. This immense mass applies gravitational pull on the surrounding waters, raising the sea level nearby. However, as the ice melts, this gravitational force disappears. As a result, the sea level near the ice sheet decreases while it rises in other areas. Later, another glacier, the Denmark and Scott glaciers, located at the eastern end of Antarctica, also begin to melt. This adds an additional 1.5 meters of water to the oceans. All this salt water flows into agricultural areas, destroying crops. Even worse, underground water sources that provide drinking water become contaminated by the salty water from the ocean. In short, this poses a massive threat to humanity. The exact impact of the melting Antarctic ice on our climate is still not fully understood. According to some scenarios, when glaciers break off from Antarctica and melt into the Atlantic Ocean, changes in ocean currents could trigger a new ice age. However, if the melting primarily causes rising sea levels, temperatures around the world will increase. The ice surface helps keep the world cold by reflecting sunlight. But as the ice melts, the dark-colored ocean water that replaces it absorbs more sunlight and heats up. This accelerates global warming. Additionally, as glaciers melt and the oceans warm, the activity of microscopic fungi in the water increases. Similar to how dead leaves decompose in forests, these fungi break down dead organic matter in the oceans, releasing carbon dioxide. Warmer oceans mean more decomposition and more carbon dioxide emissions. Furthermore, as glaciers melt, they create a layer of fresh water over the salty ocean water. This reduces the ocean's ability to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, further accelerating global warming. Now, the rest of Antarctica is rapidly breaking into huge chunks and melting. The waters from the melting ice flow into the oceans. As the ice melts, a natural wonder hidden for millions of years emerges. A massive canyon system over 100 kilometers longer than the Grand Canyon. This canyon, stretching 3.5 kilometers below sea level, is the deepest in the world. The last piece of ice has melted, and sea levels have risen more than 70 meters. This rapid rise caught people completely unprepared. 40% of the world's population, over 3 billion people, live along coastal areas. And as the Antarctic ice melts within minutes, most of these people drown. The entire Atlantic coastline, including a large portion of the United States, is submerged. Some areas of California turn into small islands surrounded by water, while other parts of the state are completely flooded. Cities like London, Paris, and Venice, those well-known coastal cities, are no longer here. Millions of people are left homeless, injured, or even lose their lives. With freshwater sources contaminated by salt water, people struggle to find drinking water. Once all the glaciers have melted, The next stage involves the permafrost, which has been frozen in the polar regions for over 40,000 years. As the permafrost begins to melt, it releases trapped carbon dioxide and methane. This accelerates global warming, causing the permafrost to melt even faster. We can compare the melting of permafrost to putting frozen food in a microwave. Can things get worse? Yes, they can. Frozen DNA viruses in the permafrost could thaw out, causing a global pandemic. In the midst of this disaster, creating vaccines would be extremely difficult, especially with the air becoming unbearably hot. The world is already 5 to 10 degrees hotter. This temperature rise is linked to the melting of the entire ice sheet. Now, this melting further heats the air. As the global average temperature approaches 27 degrees Celsius, people begin migrating in massive numbers. The most popular destinations are Canada, Alaska, and the newly emerging Arctic and Antarctic regions. These areas are transforming into new tropical paradises. 34 million years ago, Antarctica was a temperate rainforest, like New Zealand. Perhaps history is repeating itself, and we may see palm trees along Antarctica's coasts and crocodiles swimming in the warm Southern Ocean. Who knows? Fortunately, Antarctica does not actually melt within minutes. However, the submerging of coastal cities, the death of 3 billion people, contamination of underground waters, the acceleration of global warming, and the possibility of a pandemic make for a pretty terrible scenario. What do you think about the melting glaciers? Could this scenario unfold in the next 10 years? We look forward to your comments. See you next time.